we've got the Maserati Levante GTS. This is exciting because this is the fourth performance luxury SUV we've had on the channel. The first one was the Audi RSQ8. The second was the Porsche Cayenne GTS, and of course, my favorite, the Velar SVA. Those three were beasts to us and this channel, and it helped our channel grow. And this might do the same, we're not sure. Now, if you're wondering why I'm dressed up this way, it's because I broke my toe. My little toe is actually physically broken, so I'm hobbling away. So that'll be good for you guys that always complain about me running around the car. So let's get into it. Look how solid this key is. It is a beautiful, strong, masculine key. You can also bring your owner's manual because it's lavish with this beautiful suede. But in case you need to know how many models you can get in your Levante, you can get 4. The first one is the regular Levante, the second is the S, the third is the GTS, and the fourth one is the Trofeo. Take a look at the front end of this thing. This is where the money is spent. I love the front end of this thing. It's got these short overhangs, but not only that, look how this front bumper and this front fascia pushes down. It like forces its way down. Visually speaking, when you look at the front end of this thing, it really forces it down. And it's got really good styling on the front. Obviously, it's Italian, so expect that because this is built in Italy. If you take a look at these headlights, they do have 15 LEDs. I've tried to look, but I can't find 15 for some reason. It also has these dual vertical grille pieces here. These are really nice. And if you don't know what this is called a trident. And a trident is actually a 3-headed spear by the god of the sea called Poseidon. And if you don't know what Poseidon is, well, just listen to I'm on a boat, I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat! You get it. But take a look at these front intakes. The intakes there and the intakes on the other side are huge. They're massive, and it all gets sucked into this V8 that makes 550. We'll get into that. Check out the engine. But before I show you the engine, I want to tell you about 100K. We are so close and only you can make the difference, so please subscribe to our channel. Now, I will show you the Ferrari engine, but actually, it is built in Maranello, Italy. But this is the crazy part. Maserati doesn't want you to believe that this is a Ferrari engine, even though it is built at the same place that the other Ferrari engines are built. It even has almost the same engine code. But no, so all V8s in the Levante are at this Ferrari factory. You can get 3 other versions behind this. The first one is just the regular Levante, obviously, as I mentioned. You can get the hybrid, not available in North America, and you can get the S. Those are both V6s, and then the hybrid is obviously not a V6. So let's check out the V8. This is gonna be exciting. Now they are all all-wheel drive. So all Levantes are all-wheel drive, and they do have an 8-speed ZF transmission. This thing is a 3.8 liter V8 that makes 550 horsepower and 538 pound-feet of torque and does 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Now, if you want the red intake manifold, so all this stuff here being red, yes, if that's important to you, then you can spend the extra 30K and get 580 horsepower and 538 pound-feet of torque. That does 0 to 60 in 3.8, 3.9 seconds. That's a lot of money for that much extra power and that much extra speed. To me, I think this is enough. And yes, let's get to the side. Now, I forgot to mention about the engine is you can only really get this engine in the past in their big buy, the Quattroporte. You could not get this engine in anything smaller than this. So this is kind of exciting. They put it in their first and only SUV. As we move along here, I like the fact that these headlights here actually have the amber built in it. I like it because there's not another amber piece down here or on the bottom. It's sort of all in this headlight assembly. I really do like it. As far as wheels go, so this has a 6-piston caliper. You can get 4 different colors of calipers. As far as wheels, you can get 12 different styles. These are 22s, pretty awesome. And as always, we always have to check if this is plastic or carpeted, and this is plastic. Now, there's probably some insulation behind it, but that is kind of disappointing. You'd expect it to have some carpet and not just plastic. As we move along here, obviously, this is a love-hate relationship for a lot of people. Maserati claims that this actually makes the engine a little bit cooler. It actually heats out. And I've watched some places, some people actually show you that it does produce some sort of heat in the wintertime. When I looked at the engine, I looked at this, it seems pretty far, but hey, it is what it is. Now, for the exciting stuff. As we move along here, I want to tell you about the length and wheelbase of this car. Now, this is 117 inches in terms of wheelbase. That is 4 inches longer than a Telluride. 4 inches. And the Telluride's a 7 or 8 passenger, which is kind of crazy. This is basically the same length as an Audi Q7. That's a 7 passenger. And this is not a 7 passenger. This is a 5 because it's supposed to be sort of a GT type car. It has a really long front end. And come take a look at this doors. These doors, if you look at these frameless doors, look at the thickness of this window. Now, people do claim, and we've obviously reviewed a lot of cars here, that they do have thicker windows than this, but this is the thickest dual pane window I've seen. We have other brands, obviously, that are thinner. They say they're dual pane, but they're not as thick. These are really thick quality windows. Now, as I close this door, you will notice they are soft closed doors, so I can go like that, and then they close. Pretty cool. It does have, obviously, key in your pocket, proximity on the front and the back doors, and obviously the black trim all around the car. So in the back here, check out this tire size. These are 295s in the back, 265s in the front, but 295s in the back. And yes, this is a forged 22-inch wheel. But pretty cool that they actually have cross-drilled rotors. I haven't seen cross-drilled rotors in forever. Like slotted and cross-drilled rotors were like a thing of like forever ago. But anyways, important pieces in the back here. The most important part is that the whole SUV has a 50-50 weight distribution. That's something that BMW preaches to death. 50-50 weight distribution was like the thing for them for marketing. I haven't heard it in a while, but this thing has 50-50 weight distribution, but also has a mechanically locking diff in the back, and obviously you can transfer 100% of power in the back because this is rear wheel biased. And as we move along the back here, I don't know, do you guys like the fact that the logo and the emblem is right here? Let me know. That's the first time I've seen a logo sort of in this rear quarter before. It's a nice, wide, big quarter, and you can see from here, this is a little bit wide-bodied in the back. Take a look. And it has a sort of coupe-like design with really small shoulder-type windows. But let's move to the back. So this has something called Skyhook air suspension that has 6 different levels you can raise it and drop it by. It's specifically tuned for this GTS model, and take a look at the back here. I like the way it's couped down. Yes, it does have frameless windows, as I mentioned, but it does sort of frame down. I like the way this back looks. This logo just reminds me of World Star Hip Hop for some reason. But as we go along the back here, you will see that these are real exhaust. There are real exhaust through and through. These aren't fakies. Yes, Germans, you throw fakey exhaust all kinds. Don't lie, you do. Yes. Take a look at the back though. This does have kick. You kick it, it does open up. But most importantly, this does tow 6,000 pounds. Important for people to know if they are buying something like this, they need to tow, because obviously if you can afford this, you can afford a boat, jet skis, whatever the hell you want to afford. Let's see what space we got in here. As far as depth goes, hopefully it is above 40. Oh yes, 41. That is nice. That is a good size. And as far as width goes, you've got 45.5. And entryway is actually really good considering the way this vehicle looks. You actually do have quite a bit of room. And again, it's a bit tough for mobility here, but nice and suede. Whew, nice suede and fancy. Let's see what's underneath here. We've got a bit of a compartment, and do we have a spare tire? Let's lift this up. Do we have a spare tire? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Do we have a spare tire? Come on, lift me up. Yes, we got a, it's a temporary, but hey, it's got a tire. Oh my God, look at the size of that battery. It's huge. So it does have these sill plates on the bottom here. They should extend out a little bit more, but hey, it is what it is. If you want to close this tailgate, you actually have to push the button down here. Its German counterparts have one up here. You can lock and obviously close the trunk lid, and the same thing you have here. You hit the button, it beeps, and it closes. And as it goes down, you will see that it has this spoiler with these little sort of grab handles in it on both sides with third brake light. But interesting to know is that Maserati on their website, it gives you an opportunity to actually listen to what the engine sounds like. So when you go on their site and you want to build a Maserati, you hit the button, it says, listen to the engine. To which I say, listen to the exhaust, because that's what you're really hearing. These things, take a listen. All right, so we're in the back of the Levante, and how does this door feel? Let's take a listen. Decent, not bad. Really thick door panel, nice and strong door panel. Love the stitching on it. It does have the upgraded interior, but as far as sound system goes, you will see down here, it's got the Bowers and Wilkins 17-speaker sound system. The one below this is actually Harman Kardon. There's 14 speakers, and the base one has 8 speakers. I would just get rid of the bass one at this price point. Why give anybody 8 speakers? Might as well give them no speakers so they can hear the engine and the exhaust, you know? That seems more exciting to me. The heated seats button is down here in the sort of compartment on the bottom. As far as legroom goes, it feels pretty good, pretty solid. How do the seats feel? Well, I get a lot of good soft back support down here. It's pretty cool. It has the Maserati Trident logo there. Let's see this armrest here. Now these seats do obviously all fold down, and it does have a pass-through. Really small one, but it's got a pass-through. It doesn't have any other buttons on the bottom here. It does have 2 seat vents, and this button exposes 2 USBs, regular USBs, and a cigarette lighter. It says charge only. Nice suede headliner all the way through. Got a decent amount of headroom. Again, I'm only 5'8.5" or almost 5'9" with this hat. It's extra high hat that I'm wearing. And yeah, seats do not slide backwards and forwards. They do tilt, however. I can pull this little handle here, and I can get the first one, second one, and all the way back. So decent amount. Let's go to the front. So check out how this door sounds. Not bad for a frameless door. Now it's got a really solid, heavy quality door panel. As you can see, just like the back, there's no difference. The quality's there on the door panel, and when you close this door, it does feel solid. Now, I've watched a couple of reviews out there, and people do complain about how this dash and how this interior looks kind of plain and maybe a bit dated, and they're definitely right. There are some pieces here that are from the other brands. Now, I will say that it makes kind of sense though, because Maserati is a smaller company. Yes, they pull some pieces that they just want to spend the money on the R&D for, say, an HVAC control or some vents and maybe this 8.4-inch screen. But that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is this seat. And yes, it is a bit hard when you sit in it for long periods of time, which maybe, you know, kind of sporty, kind of get it. But what bothers me is if this is a real driver's car, should this seat have a leg extension in it? And maybe like bolstering that tightens me up really tight? No, it doesn't have leg extensions. And I feel at 5'8.5", I need leg extensions, which is kind of rare. So that's the part that bothers me. But anyways, can't change that because that's the way it is. I like the fact it has all these little pieces to remind me that it's a Maserati, like right here. It's got the crested sort of Maserati logo there. It's got the Maserati logo there. It even has Maserati logo right on the brake pedal. Right on the brake pedal. I can feel the Maserati logo, the Trident, right on my brake pedal. Pretty cool. People do also complain that these have nice, the most beautiful sort of, listen, paddle shifters, but they sort of stay there. So when I'm turning and I'm in motion, I want to shift upward. I actually have to go back up here because these do not turn. As I turn the steering wheel, these shifters don't turn. They're nice and huge and large, but they don't turn. Down here you have the stability program. You've got off-road and ICE or I.CE. So I.C.E and then sport and then suspension. So you can simply hit this button, the dampeners tighten up on the air suspension. But back to ICE, that call starts for increased control and efficiency. And essentially just means that it's their eco mode. It basically tries to save as much fuel and try to be as efficient as possible. Same with throttle. You can't mash the throttle. It doesn't go as aggressive as it does in normal or in sport mode. The cool part about though, when I hit sport mode first, I thought, man, it shuts off stability program, but actually it shuts off start and stop and drops the car, not to the lowest setting, but one setting above the lowest setting. But the exhaust note is why you buy this car. So once again, listen to this exhaust note. As we move along the center console here, people have told me to shake this and see if it shakes a lot. It feels pretty solid. Push some buttons, maybe it creaks, doesn't do that. Push the steering wheel, maybe it shakes, doesn't do that. Shifter though, has been shortened. One thing that's kind of weird is that it's got the park, which is pretty normal, but the way it's designed, it visually appears to actually be park, reverse, neutral, drive like most cars, but it's not that way. It's actually neutral in the middle, and to go into reverse, you have to push this little lever behind it and push forward to go into reverse. I'm just so used to getting this car, SUV, and basically pulling it back to go in reverse, but it doesn't do that. It actually goes into drive that way. I've got to push forward for reverse, pull forward for drive, and then obviously switch it over for manual, and then use the paddles. A cool thing I do like is I like how it has sort of a cake style, sort of a dual height rotary knob here that it does have a touchscreen, but you can basically turn this knob here and it switches through all the radio stations, and then your volume is just above it. So it's kind of neat. They've actually just put the volume knob just above the actual scroller button, which is really nice. I really, really like that piece. And then below it obviously has your hazard lights, and then below that it has your air suspension. So you can adjust your air suspension by pushing it up or pushing it down. And then it's got two cup holders here, and you push it there. Something really odd though is the way these trays sort of work. Just not the best type quality, especially the further one. When I want to pull it back, so to push it up, well, if you take a look at what I'm doing here, you can pull it back and then it has this, like it raises up, but then my finger slips. And then I'm like, okay, 2 fingers, and then pull it back, and then it does one of these. I let go, and I'm like, phew, it worked. But then to release it, I try to push. It doesn't let me push. I have to push this down and then release it, which means I should be able to push this down, and it comes back up some way, somehow, powered or something. But no, I have to do that, and it's weird. But it does have 4 cup holders, 2 over here and 2 over here. And the 2 over here are actually cool. It does have a cooled glove box, and it's activated by pushing this little on and off switch that makes this noise. Again, stuff you wouldn't expect in a car this expensive. It does have a leather sort of wrapped glove box, and yes, as I mentioned, it does have these fancy owner's manual. So pretty straightforward and easy stuff. And if I'm being honest, this basically looks the same as my Dodge Ram. The way it's designed, this is definitely pulled from the FCA products. You can sort of slide here left and right. Pretty straightforward stuff. You've got tire pressure drive modes, which is pretty cool. I like that drive mode that I just skipped past. Seem to go left, but I can't go right. Like I can go this way, but then I have to go around the other direction. There we go. So there we go. I like the fact that you can do that. You can see where the torque split is being affected on the wheels. Pretty cool stuff. And you can see your air suspension up and down. So pretty straightforward stuff. As far as like amazing tech and, you know, sort of with the times and with other manufacturers, it's just not there. But it does say V8 over there to make me excited, and it does have the World Star Hip Hop logo right there. Oh, it sounds so good. Oh man. A little bit of dip. And on the throttle. Let's hear the downshifts. Just like listen to this listen to these shifters. Real quality here. It's pretty subdued in the car though. It's not super loud in the car. You can hear it. But wind noise starts to take over after this speed for sure. So that was a turn in sport mode. Now this is in sport mode with the dampeners activated, and yes, there's definitely a difference. Oh yeah, there's definitely a difference with the dampers. That is the magic pill. Oh yeah, now this car really comes alive. Oh my God, this thing hooks. That's the button. The sport button for sure, but that is the button. All right, so let's launch this thing. I'm in sport, throw it in drive, hold ESP down, electronic stability control off, and then on the throttle, and let's go. Great transmission. There we go. Welcome back. Stay in gear, buddy. Stay in gear. There we go. Oh, these dampeners are awesome. Waking me up, Maserati. You're waking me up. This is a hard car to drive quietly. Like, I can't drive this car quietly because I'm always looking around to see if anybody hears me, and they definitely hear me because it's like, listen. So how do you drive this car quietly? Oh my God. I was told there's only one way to drive this car, and that's in sport. So there you have it. But also I'm getting major paranoia from driving this thing because it's loud and it hauls. So yes, again, the closest thing is the SVA for sure. The Velar SVA is the closest thing to this car. The RSQ8 is a little bit more turbo-laggish, I find. Definitely way better interior. Feels a bit more sort of straight, not planted, but a bit more straight, if that makes any sense, in the Audi. As far as the Porsche goes, this definitely is faster. That's a little bit more nimbler, but this is definitely faster. There's just way more power here. And the front end of this thing looks awesome. Like, look at this thing pull. What's really deceiving is this wheelbase, as I mentioned. It's 117 inches, is so long, but doesn't feel like it in the cabin. It's this hood. This is like the world's longest hood, but it doesn't appear that way because it really does slant forward. It's really important to have the beeping sensors because you can't really tell how long your hood is. This is like a really long hood. So as we putter along here on this really bumpy, noisy road, you'll sort of feel how the suspension reacts, and suspension's a little bit wobbly. I throw in sport now, and yeah, it definitely tightens it up. But now I can feel that it's bumpier for sure. It feels louder. And in normal, yeah, it does feel like the back end gets a little bit wobbly, couch-like. But anyways, nobody buys this car to be driving it in couch mode. So the question is, should I buy a Trofeo because it basically makes like 30 more horsepower? Is it worth that extra 30K, let's call it? I'd probably say no. Yeah, it's cool to have that red intake manifold, and it would be cool to have some extra stitching and maybe that true Maserati power at almost 600 horsepower. But 550 is plenty. In Europe, you don't get 550, sorry, you get like 530, so we get a little bit more power than you do. But this is plenty. Got a ton of torque, and if you're gonna spend the money on updating the interior. Like Maserati, that is. Not you, the buyer. The only reason to buy the Trofeo is if you want to break 302 kilometers an hour, because this one doesn't hit 300, just under 300. But if you want to break 300 kilometers an hour, well, that's when you have to buy the Trofeo. So if that's what you want, then spend the moolah. But for me, the GTS is plenty. Now, out of the other three I talked about, well, you have to watch those videos. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe and check us out next time.